Yes, I'm up for an interview with Dr. Ife Williams.
All right, I'm gonna patch you through. Just make sure there's no background noise, and she'll introduce you and when she's gonna start your interview. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, folks, as you see, I am about to do an interview with Dr. Ife Williams on WPFW, so stay tuned and enjoy the program. Talk to you shortly. The whole key to everything is really just preparation.
Absolutely, and that's what I appreciate about
Knowing what you're going to say, knowing what you want to say. Today we're talking about my book, What's So Hard About Being You, basically giving us an opportunity of offsetting the challenges that we have in life.
On the line, this is Wake Up and Stay Woke. I'm Dr. Ife Williams, and we're about to speak with Sir Charles Kerry. Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Good morning. Good to hear from you. How's everything going?
Wonderful. I know last time you were on, we had to cut you short because what they call breaking news or something came up, and we had to go to that. But thank you for coming back to finish out what you were going to talk about, and welcome back to Wake Up and Stay Woke. I wanted our listeners to hear a bit more about your work, so go right ahead. You just got a few minutes.
Absolutely. I thank you for the opportunity first and foremost. My position, I'm a peak performance strategist, which means I speak to people and train people on how to become the best versions of themselves, and that's personally or professionally. Basically, I'm a writer as well. I've written about 7 books, and my most recent book, I've been kind of like promoting that because I think it's really very important that we realize that if you don't know yourself, it's hard to become who you're ultimately supposed to be. And the book's title is What's So Hard About Being You? And it really challenges the reader to be honest with themselves. You know, we're living in some really difficult times, and most of us don't realize what they can do to revert or avoid some of the challenges that we're up against. I'm talking politically, generally, professionally, any kind of way that you have life challenges. There's always something you can do, and many times that answer resides within.
Mm-hmm. And it's so important for us to deal with ourselves. I know I was in a meeting this past week, and I wanted to ask the question is, how do you live with yourself? Maybe you don't really know yourself. So this is rather interesting, that you're writing about. So certainly wanting our listeners to hear a little bit more about it. What's so hard about being you?
Yeah, well, we talk about things like the lie, meaning that, many times we were all raised to do things a certain way, think a certain way, believe things a certain way, but life changes, and you come to find out that all of those things were not true. Some of those things were just told to you because that was passed down, and, that was the intention was meant for good, but it really wasn't something that you should abide by or go by. And you don't learn that sometimes until later in life. So it's about recognizing what is and what isn't. And then there's another chapter we talk about new rules, which really means that, once you found this information out, now what do? Do you modify your beliefs? Do you change your approach on life and how you deal with people socially, personally, or even professionally? And I think that's really important. And we got to realize that it's up to us to really make the best of this thing called life. And if you don't, you have no one to blame but yourself. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people are talking about getting coaches and, getting mentors, and that's fine. But a lot of the tough work can be done by ourselves. And that's when I talk about the importance of critical, in-depth analysis, meaning self-discovery. If you can be hard on you, you really don't need anyone else to be hard on you.
Well, to that, Dick Gregory would always say, it's more important to be lovable than it is to be loved. And I think he was sort of speaking to what you are saying now. Sometimes we have to look inward. We look at other people and we criticize them, but we need to examine ourselves, and we need to know what it is we're doing that may be eliciting the kind of behavior that someone else is doing. So I try to remember that every day. It's more important to be lovable than it is to be loved. Now,
I agree.
Yes, okay. You say you say the right mindset is all you need. Does
Right.
that mean we get in our own way by what kind of thoughts we have?
Absolutely, all the time. And it's not necessarily intentional, but sometimes it is. Sometimes we do it by omission and sometimes by commission. And the truth of the matter is, we have to learn to be open, honest, clear, and direct. And I'm talking about with ourselves first and foremost, as well as with other people. Because if you're not honest with yourself, if you can't be clear about whatever it is you're looking at or assessing, how do you expect someone else to look at you or listen to you and understand what's in your mind? So, let's not mislead ourselves. Even with the injustices that are happening, and I know this is going to be very unpopular, but even with some of the injustices that are happening with African Americans in our society today, I think a lot of those things can be or could have been avoided had we been honest with ourselves. How did you look? How did you present yourself? How did you respond? Or did you react? We have to really be critical of our own behavior sometimes. It doesn't justify extreme wrongdoing, but it's important with maybe diffusing or gaining clarity or even taking away someone's unfair advantage.
Yeah, well, I
of
just
you.
got in. They got me on hold.
I don't know what that was, but go right ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's important if you're honest with yourself. Sometimes you can disarm your enemy because you realize what you're doing, who you are, and where you are. So we need to be mindful of really what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Okay, well, you have some very interesting concepts and thoughts. I want to be sure you tell our listeners how they can reach you, how they can learn more about what you're talking about. Would you let our listeners know that, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. My website is sircharleskerryinc.com, and Kerry is spelled C-A-R-Y, so that's Sir Charles, C-A-R-Y, Inc.com. And if they're interested in getting the book, I think that would be a great start because I think we all have some things to work on as far as ourselves as individuals. And that's at that same website or wordsmithspeakersalliance.com. And they can get the books, and there are a lot of discounts and stuff like that they can take advantage of. But I'm really excited because we're working on an event with Cedric the Entertainer in February, and we're just moving forward, doing some really positive things. Check out Eventbrite for February 4th, 2021, and you'll see Ed Fanrum, Sir Charles Kerry, doing some things for the upcoming year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and give us quickly the names of some of your books again where we can find some of the things you're talking about.
Absolutely. You want to look at What's So Hard About Being You. You want to look at Radiate the Brain and Change the Game. You want to look at Aligned by Design. And then the last book in that series is called After the Diagnosis. So there's another one in the wings, but it's not ready yet.
Okay, well, it's so good that you're writing and you're giving us your ideas. You have some great ideas. And for those of you who are just joining us, we're talking with Sir Charles Kerry, and he's very interesting, has lots of great information, so I hope many of you will want to know more about it. Of course, my final question always is, did you know Dick Gregory, and do you remember anything he said or did?
Didn't know him personally, but I remember he was one of the heroes that we would look to growing up back in the 60s when he was on the comedy circuit, and then he transitioned through another phase and the Bohemian Diet, and later in his life I got to meet him at Howard University once, and it was great to actually finally meet someone that I've known or seen for many, many years that has been a really relevant presence for African American people. So that was my one interaction with him at Howard University, but in some ways, and gone too soon, I guess that's the best way to put it, because he had a lot to offer still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I sort of say the same thing. He was my good friend, my running buddy. We did so many events together. We spoke on the same program many times, and we read books. We read so many books. I'm sure if we'd known about yours at that time, we certainly would have read your books, too. I want to thank you so much, Sir Charles Kerry, for coming on the program, and we look forward to reading more of your works.
Thank you so much for having me. You have a great holiday season.
All right, and you have a blessed holiday season, too. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back...
So I just wrapped up an interview with Dr. Ife Williams at WPFW, and what you'll find, folks, is that many times these interviews, there's so much preparation for interviews, whether it's on television, whether it's on the radio, or even sometimes in a live occurrence, in a live event in a studio. And, it goes so fast, but meanwhile, the preparation is, a lot put into it. Getting dressed, thinking about what you want to say, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, all of that. And before you know it, yeah, it's done, it's over. So I hope you enjoyed this interview. Share it out. And if anyone can benefit from anything that I have to offer, please, by all means, reach out to me on social media /Sir Charles Kerry. And I look forward to being an added value to your life. Radiate the brain and change the game.